Hello and welcome to today's video. I hope everybody's doing well and staying healthy. Today I figured we could do some social distancing together and just hang out. I thought it was a really good excuse. I'm kind of itching to play with some makeup. I'm not going anywhere, obviously. I'm in like a t-shirt, so I figured we could do a little palette bingo. I have my Lila palette here, and then I have my mini Lila palette, which brings my shade total count to 20 because there are 15 in here, 5 here. And so I figured maybe we could do a little palette bingo and just hang out and do a little check-in. I want to hear how everybody's doing in the comments. How are you dealing with everything? So for the first thing, let's go ahead and pick some shades. Like I said, there are 15 shades in this palette here. This is what it looks like. So 15 here, and then there are 5 in the mini Lila palette. And so I figured I'll do a random number generator between 1 and 20, and we'll pick a couple shades until I feel like I have enough to do a complete look. And then we'll play with some eyeshadow and just chat for a minute. I went ahead and zoomed in a little bit because I'll be doing my eyeshadow up close, I guess. All right, first number is 9. Second number is 20. Third number is 9. We already have 9. 16. I'm gonna swatch those 3 and see what we're working with so far. Okay, so the first shade was number 9, which is this gold right here. I have it swatched right here on my arm. It's kind of like an orangey, like almost bronzy red leaning gold, which is kind of cool. And then the other 2 came from the mini Lila palette. So shade 16 was this purple here, and then shade 20 was this one down here. So again, they're swatched right there. I hope I'm not pushing it. I think I can do one more at least. So let me go ahead and random generate another number. 8. Okay, and number 8 is this pink here, which is very fun. So let's see what we got here. Okay, so here are my shades. I think what I'm gonna do is stick with 4. I could draw another one. Sometimes I have drawn 5 in the past, but I don't wanna overwhelm myself. So what I'm gonna do is, I think I'm gonna put this in my crease, outer corner, inner corner, and then this as like a little halo pop, and we'll just see how that looks. But mostly I'm just telling you that so that I can again check in verbally and not like explain what I'm doing every 2 seconds. So let's go ahead and get started. Like I said in the intro, I'm really curious to hear how everybody's doing. Are you at home? Like, are you taking care of kids? Are you working from home? Like what? Tell me. I'm really curious how everybody is doing. I know that most of my news, because I live in Sweden, like I don't really have great access to like, it's not as easy to get US TV's like channels over here. So I can look news sources up elsewhere, but honestly, it's a lot. I feel like if I end up on those websites all day, then that's all I'll do. So honestly, most of my news is coming from the occasional article that I read, which I stop a couple times a day and look at articles and just try to see how everybody's faring. But at the same time, I don't want to obsess because I'm really good at obsessing. So I feel a little bit like unplugged in a way, especially because of staying home the past 2 weeks and self-quarantining. It's kind of weird. It feels like they aren't in this like urgency state like I see some of my friends in the US. I know already some of my friends in the US are struggling in terms of, I already have some friends who've lost their jobs or are laid off temporarily, and that's really tough to see, and especially with all not knowing exactly how long this could last for. So I don't know about y'all, but I'm personally kind of struggling with the not knowing exactly what to do with myself in terms of how much news coverage and stuff do I look up versus how much does it like start to over worry me. Because honestly, part of what makes me uneasy is that my parents are obviously in the US and they're older and immunocompromised. My dad is, and so I'm like on edge because I'm like, please stay home, please don't go anywhere. But I'm also very aware that like they've been retired for a long time and their lifestyle has really been upended and changed quite a bit. They were, while they're retired and in their 70s, like they were still very active people, and they went to church like 3 times a week, and that was their social life. Or like they had church events at people's houses during the week, even when they weren't at church. And they were the kind of people who like ate out every day. And so now that they're kind of at home, I worry like how much of this is sustainable for them. Like I think they've gotten so used to like leaving the house and going out that I worry about them staying home. I worry that they're gonna push their luck and get out, and then one of them gets sick, and then I can't also be there to help in any way. Like that's hard for me. And I know I'm not alone in this. Like I know that there are a lot of people who probably have the same like worries and fears. If any of you are wondering, I'll go ahead and give you my experience of what it's been like in Sweden so far too. So like I said, I came back from Eindhoven 2 weeks ago and followed the school's kind of recommendation at the time. They said don't if you travel to an area that has, you know, some cases, we recommend that you stay home just in case. And because I know like when I traveled Amsterdam and like Eindhoven or like the whole region of the Netherlands, they had cases, but it wasn't really, it was kind of like Sweden. They didn't really have a bad outbreak. But the person I was visiting in Eindhoven had been to several places that had pretty like big outbreaks. So I was like, you know what, to just be safe, I'm gonna stay home for 2 weeks, and today is that 2-week deadline. And I mean, I'm feeling so far okay. I have had lots of like runny nose symptoms and like not feeling 100%, but then again, I think that's just pollen and allergies stuff. So it's kind of really weird because I'm like, well, my nose is running, what's going on? But I haven't had any other symptoms really beyond that. So for me, it's been a little weird to not go back to work right away. But then again, I think I'm really kind of enjoying the break. Like the first week was a little weird because I was getting a little stir crazy. But then last week I kind of gave myself a structured schedule and stuck with that, and like had goals for myself every day that I hadn't been setting for myself. So I was way more productive last week, which also helped me feel better, you know? But I did get a message from my school saying that they had a number of like staff members out, and even a number of students were out. And so they went ahead and like went to distance learning for some of the grades that they do. So my school has year 4 through year 9. And so like year 9 is still in school and year 4 and 5 are still in school. But they were like desperately needing substitutes, but I couldn't go in. So I was kind of a little bit like, wow, that's a little bit, I don't know if I expected to hear that many teachers or staff members were out. So that was a little bit shocking. I guess this week the school is going to kind of decide, is this sustainable? Like, are teachers going to come back, or do we really need to move to like distance learning because we can't have that many staff members out again? Because I think they said there was like 30 or so out, which is a lot. And then at my husband's job, he's been going into work regularly, but I think he has about 20 co-workers who he normally is around on a day-to-day basis, and then I think at least half of those people are home, and they're probably either home because they either feel somewhat like slight symptoms and they're just being safe, or some of them have kids and, you know, are forced to be home because they don't have, you know, all of a sudden if that school is closed down, they have to take care of their kids. So I'm not quite sure. I'm just kind of guessing that might be some of the things keeping people home. But I do know for the most part, they've shut down like the older like students from going to school. They've moved to distance learning, and they've moved universities to distance learning here. But there's still a number of like kids who are younger who are still expected to go to school and work. Part of me like really gets it, because I think that, you know, if you close down schools for younger kids, you're gonna have a lot of parents who then are forced to stay home. But at the same time, it's they don't really have, like for some of the teachers who are forced to stay home, they don't have enough substitutes in these schools or resources to like keep these schools open. So I'm really curious to see how it's gonna all unfold, because there's a little part of me that goes, I don't really know, like I mentioned before, I don't really have a contract here, so my job isn't guaranteed. I let them know when I can work, and then I go in if they need me. And part of me is like, well, is it worth going in, possibly getting sick from like being exposed to this virus because I'm working in a school system, and then I'm out for 2 weeks and I don't get sick leave because I don't actually have a contract? I mean, granted, I'm really lucky being in Sweden because I have healthcare covered here. Like, they have universal healthcare, but on like the other side of my brain, I'm like, but still, is it worth going and being exposed? I don't know. But then again, I'm giving up work as is. So it's just a really interesting time period. And I think it's going to be interesting to see when it's all said and done, how much people are going to be impacted. Because clearly this is having a much bigger impact than I think people expected it to be, especially seeing comments and stuff back home in the US and that kind of thing. Moving on to other topics, not necessarily like the seriousness of this all. I'm curious if anybody is doing anything new. Like I'm kind of thinking about using some of this downtime to try something new, but I'm trying to come up with like a list of things to try. Maybe like baking. I'm not a really good baker, so I'm thinking about maybe trying some baking or something, or just trying to learn a new skill that's like doable in like a couple of days, just getting started in something. So I'm curious if y'all have any ideas, if you're trying anything new yourself. All right, I'm gonna pause, put on some makeup, put on my base makeup, because otherwise this video would be ages long, and then we'll come back and wrap this video up. Okay, so this is the finished look. I ended up using this purple here under my lower lash line, and then I took a little bit of that pink also like under the like middle of my lash line on the bottom, and I tried to build up this color here a little bit more on my lid. I think what I should have done is pull this pink all the way to the purple, because this gold here is almost, I mean, like, it's beautiful, but it's almost like a topper shade instead of like of straight, like it has a lot of color in it, so it's really weird, but I felt like I could still kind of see through it a little bit on my lid, which was odd. That's probably one of the shades in this palette that I played with the least. I've tried to really get to know the purples in this, because typically purple is a color that I'm really drawn to, but then sometimes I get really nervous to actually wear it out. And when I look at the like flap here, it looks like Magnolia, which is that color that we drew. It says K beside it, so I wonder if that means that it's like one of those chroma top coat kind of shades. I don't have my sleeve, which would have more of the information in front of me, so I don't know off the top of my head, but I enjoyed this. I'll tell you one thing I know for sure. This I've had in my like 4 seasons kind of project. This is about to be rolled out in favor of my next palette, which is the Norvina palette. And so put this in my like Shop My Stash basket for this past month, and it was my first time using these two together, and I like them so much more together, and I like them both separately, but I like them so much more together. I felt like I was missing some like purple mattes. There are a lot of these shades. I have a lot of thoughts on these shades. Let me know if you'd ever want a dedicated review, because I've kind of been toying with that idea, but I've been playing with some of these colors, and I've wanted some like purple mattes, and this little mini palette here actually gives you, 2 purple mattes in here. So it kind of changes the palette for me. Like honestly, when I sat down today, I expected to have like a really grungy look, because when I look at this palette in particular, it looks very grungy to me. It's so many of those deep purple tones. So today I feel like it looks very bright and like spring-like, and I really like how it turned out. So I'm really glad that I did this, and I'm glad that if you stuck around and hung out with me, I'm really appreciative. Make sure you say hello in the comments. Let me know how you're doing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.